It's purple perfection in 7A football as the Fayetteville Bulldogs finished 13-0. Greenwood Bulldogs also finished 13-0 and bring the state title back to the River Valley. We take a look back at the state championship games from last weekend on this week's Prep Rally.
You're watching the Prep Rally Podcast.
Welcome to the Prep Rally Podcast, sponsored by West Termite Pest and Lawn. I'm Graham Thomas with the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. My man Rick Fires here in the Fayetteville studio. Leland Barclay joins us in the River Valley. And fellas, what a weekend in Little Rock with the state championship football games. It was a great weekend. Starting Leland with a rain-soaked Thursday night with 8-man games. Then we had the 2A game, 6A games on Friday, and 7A and 5A on Saturday. So boys, let's dig in and with the kind of just to recap some of these state championship games. And I think it's only fitting that we start with the Saturday afternoon game between Fayetteville and Bentonville. What a game it was. Fayetteville 22, Bentonville 16, as the Purple Bulldogs complete a 13-0 season, the first perfect season they've ever had. And I tell you what, it was just a neat moment down there on the field afterwards. Kind of seeing those guys, they completed the journey. And Rick, I know you were back up here watching at home, but you've seen Fayetteville more than anybody has this time of year, and this season. So a little perspective here for Fayetteville Bulldogs.
Well, you could tell by the way that Casey Dick, went to the knees. It was emotional. When you start way back in the spring, then you go through the summer, and this is what you play for. This is what you show up for practice every day when you're tired and your friends are out doing other things. What an emotional moment for Casey Dick and that team. And they got better. They really did. I mean, through the regular season, they had a lot of offense. I mean, they were for the show. But during go time, the defense really came through. Special teams, everything. They were a complete team at the end of the year. So congratulations to Fayetteville, and they got that new SWAC building over there. And I know they can't wait to put that big trophy in there, that big plaque in there, if they hadn't already.
Now, Leland, you were down on the field for a lot of that game. Getting some video and. Boy, that's the ideal place to be during a football game, I think, is down there on the field, up in the War Memorial press box. It's way up there, and you got a great view of the game. But man, I'd like to hear just some insight about what it was like down there on the field.
Yeah, and you're right. It's a great place to be, especially, man, it was a nice, bright, sunny day, and it was just an absolute great place and a great day to watch high school football, especially the two best teams in the state's largest classification. And the first thing that comes to my mind when I think back on that game, and even during that game, early in that game, not just at the end, but really throughout, was just how defensive the game was and kind of how it was an old-fashioned 7A West game. Because used to, when we wrote about the 7A West back when it was even the 4A West and the 5A West, we used to always say, the rugged 5A West or the rugged, now the rugged 7A West. And it's always what it was a ground pound defensive conference. And man, the hitting that went on down there, and it was just really an old fashioned 7A West game. The two defenses combined, both teams combined gave up 73 rushing yards. So it was hard for these teams to establish the run against the defense. And then when it came to the pass, well, the two defenses combined for 8 sacks. So it was really just it was a tough day for the offensive coordinators and a great day for the defensive coordinators because the defenses were just playing so great. And how many times have we talked over the last 15 or even 20 years about how these offenses have made it so difficult for defensive coordinators now, and how it's probably the toughest job in the state is to be one. And boy, this game was all about defense, and it came down to really the last play, a pass into the end zone that was knocked down that allowed Fayetteville to really escape and enjoy their sixth state title with a 22-16 win.
Well, one of my favorite stats about the whole game, I think this is right, Leland. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but Fayetteville's longest rush was by the punter on I don't believe it was an intended fake punt, but that's kind of what it ended up being. He picked up about 14 yards. Nathan Cockle did on Fayetteville's very first offensive series, and they didn't score on it, but. I mean, that just goes to show you when the punter is getting the very longest run for their team. That says a lot about how those defenses were playing.
You know what? And it's the old adage coach has been saying for 180 years: defenses win championship. And even in the modern era, where there's stats galore, 55, 45 games, when it gets right down to the business winning championships, the defense always bail you out and pull you through.
Well, and you're right. Nathan, I guess it's Cockle, had a 14-yard run on a fake punt. Chris Ficklin did have a 15-yard run for Bentonville, but that was the two longest runs of the day. It was 15 and 14 yards, and one of them was by the punter.
Well, and so here's another interesting note about Fayetteville's win here. They trailed 3 times. They trailed 7-0. They trailed 10-7 at half.
Okay.
They did pull ahead in the third quarter, 14-10, and then got behind again. Bentonville scored, hit CJ Brown for a touchdown, and then they swapped turnovers for a while there. There were a few fumbles, and Fayetteville did score in the fourth quarter, and then Bentonville was knocking on the door, and in talking with Jody Grant, Bentonville kind of felt like they had some opportunities slip away.
Yep.
In the first half, they had a situation where they had completed about a 43-yard pass to Karsten Pate down to the 20 and had 1st and 10 at the 20, and then a couple of negative plays, and then a penalty, and then a intentional grounding put it behind the 50-yard line, and Bentonville goes from a 1st and 10 at the 20 situation to having to punt. I mean, that's just kind of one of those frustrating moments for Bentonville. And then, like Leland said, right there at the end, they were knocking on the door and had the ball, I think, at the 13-yard line, but some more penalties put them behind the sticks, and they had to kind of throw one into the end zone. Not an ideal situation, but Bentonville had a chance right there at the end. And at the end of the day, I mean, sometimes that's all you can ask for is a chance to win.
Well, and I don't think I've ever seen this on stats, and I love to look at the numbers. On third down attempts, Bentonville averaged 12.9, 13 yards to go on third down. They were 6 of 12, and their average yards to go on third down was 13 yards. Fayetteville's average yard to go was 10 yards, and they were 4 of 11. So that just tells you what kind of day it was for the offense.
Yeah. Well, Drake Lindsay, to no one's surprise, was the state MVP in that game. It wasn't his best game overall, but he gave him a chance. And just a great job, a great season for the Purple Bulldogs. So we are going to now move on to the Greenwood Little Rock Christian game, which was Friday night. And Leland, I've got in my notes here, and this is the headline we used in the River Valley Democrat-Gazette, but Greenwood completed their journey to the ship. And maybe you can give us a little more insight about that rallying cry for the Greenwood Bulldogs.
In August, they have team sayings every year that they kind of adopt. And this year, the shirts they handed out in August said "Journey to the Ship," and it meant to the championship, not to the championship game, as Coach Chris Young pointed out after the game, because especially the senior class, they had been twice in a row and come away, empty, losing 2 state championships, in a row to El Dorado 2 years ago. And then, of course, to 6A West foe Pulaski Academy last year. So that was kind of their mantra for the season was "Journey to the Ship," meaning the championship and not the game.
Well, in this ball game, it was all Greenwood from the very start. I mean, they were all over. Their defense was all over Little Rock Christian to open up the game. They had two straight stops, and then uh, the offense turned around and scored two straight times and was up. Just like Greenwood does to people, they were up 14-0, and they really controlled the whole ball game. Leland, that's kind of the way I saw it.
They did. Like you said, Little Rock Christian got the opening kickoff, 3 plays punt. Kane Archer threw a 27-yard touchdown pass to Grant Carnes. Little Rock Christian, Greenwood forced another punt. And then Kane Archer capped a 14-play drive with a 1-yard touchdown run near the end of the first quarter. And like you said, it was 14-0. Little Rock Christian was within 14-6 and then stopped Greenwood. And then Greenwood's defense turned around with a 4th down stop near midfield. And from there it was over. And I never got, and I don't think anybody really got the feeling that this game was going to end up anyway, but a Greenwood championship and wrapping up a 13-0 record, their 4th undefeated season in school history.
Now, how many championships did you say that was?
11 overall, 4th straight, or not 4th straight, but 4th undefeated season for the Bulldogs. 11th state championship in all.
So are they the number 1 football program in Arkansas, say over the last 25 years, 20 years?
I think so. Pulaski Academy is also won 11. The one when they beat Greenwood last year, that was their 11th state title. But I think since Greenwood went to the state title game in 1996 and then won it all in 2000 under Ronnie Peacock, I'd say the last 24 years, which is basically a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
They're the best program in the state.
I mean, 11 state championships since 2000. So, I'm hearing, 20, well, if you count the 0, I guess. So 24 football seasons, 11 state titles. That's every other year almost they're winning a state title. I mean, that's, they reeled off several in a row there for a while. So
now the reason I ask is I like the football history. We put out our prep rally history of Arkansas football. Leland puts out his every year, updates his about Arkansas football history. And I remember back in the day, Little Rock Central, they were dominant like nationally. Then I remember reading about those Fordyce teams, those Pine Bluff teams. But right now, Greenwood is the team in Arkansas right now as far as football.
Well, and after the Greenwood game, we were kind of going back and talking about it. And there was some ugliness to it. It wasn't Greenwood won kind of going away, but they were, it's not like Kane Archer threw for 450 yards and they had 670 yards of offense or whatever it was. They did have some struggles, and and Chris Young, and we talked about after the game, he kind of told Kane Archer, he's like, we don't need to score here. We need to run clock and secure it. They were more concerned about securing the championship and not necessarily just blowing them out. They were, it was an interesting line of thinking there, but you had a young sophomore quarterback, and I think you wanted to kind of keep the moment a little real there.
Yeah, I don't think, it's kind of like, I've had a couple of Corvettes in my life, and it's kind of like there's no sense in having a vehicle that'll go 125 miles an hour and get a speeding ticket. They just kind of put it on cruise control and just cruised on in. They ran the ball 46 times for 251 yards.
Wow.
They had possession 30 minutes to Little Rock Christian's almost 18. And it really was a game where they got the lead and there was no need to do anything other than just, play ball control and also rely on a defense that has been very good all season. I don't think there was any sense on Greenwood's sideline that Little Rock Christian was going to be able to mount this, huge, gigantic rally against Greenwood's defense that has been so good and really dominant all season long in all aspects of the game. They intercepted 3 more passes on Friday night. Cash Archer had a sack and a half, and it was just, they got the lead and just kind of put it on cruise control.
Well, boys, I'd like to brag. I did have Greenwood at the very beginning winning state titles. So, because, early on we thought it was Little Rock Christians, or a lot of you guys did. I certainly didn't. I had Greenwood, dadgummit. So, um, well, moving on to the Class 5A game. So this was Saturday evening, and man, it was my first time in a couple of years seeing Little Rock Parkview with my own eyes, and
Wow.
and they just really handed it to Shiloh Christian. You know, and then the conversation became, well, are they real? Is Little Rock Parkview the true number one team in the state this year? And boy, I'd love to see Fayetteville, Greenwood, and Little Rock Parkview kind of round robin this thing out to see who really is the best. But anyway,
Well, that's what they used to do in basketball. It's called the overall, and man, you set it up, and I'll be there watching it.
yeah, well, Parkview was all over Shiloh, and
Yeah.
this was a mercy rule, and you got to give credit to Coach Brad Bolding and Little Rock Parkview. They have got just a really fine football team, and they repeated as Class 5A state champions. So to put you on the spot here, Leland, we talked about it Saturday night, but Greenwood, Little Rock Parkview, or Fayetteville, who's number one?
Well, and I've thought about this a lot, and I think anybody could make a case for any of these three teams that was leaning that way. First and foremost, Fayetteville is undefeated in the state's largest classification.
Mm-hmm.
It says a
Period.
lot. Yep.
The 7A West, undefeated. They beat the best from the Central Conference. Bentonville at least, knocked Bryan out of it. Then Fayetteville had to beat a very good Bentonville team a second time to win the title. So the bottom line is, in that regard, Fayetteville is an undefeated state champion in the state's largest classification. To vote anybody else as number one in the final poll would be unprecedented and, in my opinion, unfounded. Now, I know that Parkview is very good, and teams that watch them and say that, but they're the state champion in Class 6A. Oh, no, wait. They're not even the champion in Class 6A. They're the champion in Class 5A.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, 12 Mercy Rule wins out of 14 wins, but it's Class 5A. I think the only other case would be Greenwood's case by being the state champion in 6A because, again, undefeated in the next largest classification against very good competition again. The biggest case there for Greenwood would be if we want to put it on a scrimmage game in the middle of August.
And they did dominate that scrimmage game. I mean, you came out of that one. Fayetteville just, it wasn't really a competitive game, but it was a scrimmage.
But it was a scrimmage, but it was funny because I was down on the field after that listening to Coach Casey Dick talk to his team. And based on his conversation with his team after that scrimmage, he didn't treat it like a scrimmage. But evidently the light came on, and for the next 14 weeks, well, I guess the 1 week off, 15 weeks, Fayetteville was the best team in the state.
I'm like Leland. Fayetteville won the highest classification. Let's not forget either that at one point the 6As were included in 7A, and they broke off several years. It wasn't Greenwood. Greenwood doesn't care. They'll play anybody anytime. But Benton, some others, they wanted, it was 32, wasn't it 32? And they broke it off into 16, 7A and 6A. And I'm always going to give the 7A team the benefit of a doubt. And so I'm like Leland. If I had a vote, Associated Press vote, I got Fayetteville number one overall.
Well, and why did the state's largest classification, which had 32 teams through 2005, why was that divided?
I can't answer that question.
Because those 16 schools felt like that they could not compete against the biggest schools.
That's what it was.
So they wanted their own classification because they could not compete against schools, the biggest schools in the state.
That's exactly right. I remember whoever the AD at Benton, I think he led the charge there. So sorry, Greenwood. You guys did everything asked of you, but I'm going with Fayetteville in 7A.
So you would have put Alabama in the college football playoff over undefeated Florida State, is what I'm hearing.
No,
Rick Fires.
I got it's a whole different conversation.
That's a whole different thing. Now,
Yep.
the bottom, again, too, all three of those teams are very good, and they're all state champions, and they're all undefeated. So, I mean, it's really kind of it's a rare instance in this situation.
Well, it was a lot of fun for me. It had been, let's see, let me do the math, about 15 years since I covered a state championship game at War Memorial Stadium, and to cover three of them in 2 days, that was a lot of fun. And they did a great job at War Memorial. We were treated really well, and
well, you guys did a great job too. I can't wait. 6 a.m. I still get my print edition. I had all those stories in there, all those stats, the sidebar. And if you're not reading the Democrat-Gazette, the River Valley, and you're getting it off a website or some, you're just missing out big time. I'm telling you.
All right, guys. Well, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we will take a look at some more playoff games that we had in our area and look ahead to one more state championship game this upcoming weekend.
Stay on top of all Arkansas Razorback sports with a Digital Plus subscription on the Hogs Illustrated app. Get complete Razorbacks coverage in one location. Your subscription gives you 20-plus issues of Hogs Illustrated magazine, the most unique and compelling coverage anywhere in the state, plus total access to all the content on WholeHogSports.com, including breaking news, commentaries, analysis, features, recruiting, award-winning photos, and premium message boards. Subscriptions start at just $17 per month. Join the Hog Sports Network team at subscribe.waco.com. That's subscribe.wehco.com. Or call 479-684-5509 to get your front row seat to Arkansas Razorback sports. Go Hogs!
Welcome back to the Prep Rally Podcast, sponsored by West Termite Pest and Lawn. Graham Thomas, Rick Fires, Leland Barclay. And gentlemen, we are going to now go back to last week's Class 4A and 3A semifinals to recap. So up in Northwest Arkansas, Rick Fires, you covered the Elkins Harding Academy game, and Harding Academy, battle of two unbeaten teams. Harding Academy defeats Elkins, ends the Elk season. What a great season they had, but Harding Academy wins, and you were there for that one.
This is the fifth time Harding Academy will play for a state championship again. They really wanted to get back to Little Rock War Memorial Stadium after losing to Malvern last year. I guess the first time in their 4A after they won a few in 3A. Harding Academy, man, they are exceptional. They're Owen Miller, their quarterback. You talk about a run. He's only a junior, because I was asking, I said, man, who's looking at this guy? His stock is climbing. He's going to start getting more. He's not a really big guy, maybe 6'1" or so, compared to somebody like Drake Lindsay, who is 6'5". But he is a true run-pass option guy, and he was zipping all over the field with his runs and throwing downfield. They had great receivers, great line play. Elkins, I just kind of feel bad for them. They didn't play their really good game. They had some drops. They had a lot of drops. There's no other way to cut it. It was rainy. It was a misty rain, and it got a little bit more rainy as the night went on. And they did. They had some drops, and they caught a couple during the middle of it, and then they had some drops late. Our quarterback, Dizzy Dean, he was right on the money for most of the night. But defensively, they just couldn't stop just an excellent Harding Academy team.
Yeah, and I think we were all enjoying the Elkins run.
Yes.
But we knew this would be a really tough game, and congratulations to Coach Zach Watson and his team. That you get into that 4A the 4A competition, it's hard. I mean, you got some really good teams in 4A.
And I tell you what, under Zach Watson, people across the state know who Elkins is now, because they built up that program the last few years. I've been on the other side of the state. Elkins, what? Who? What? Where? Yeah, but everybody knows who the Elkins football is, and they got some really good players coming back. Just a really great season, but they ran into a powerhouse in Harding Academy.
We were up in the press box at War Memorial. We had Walter Woody up there, and he had all the games streaming on his laptop, and so we were getting Elkins updates and watching some of that as we could. We were also following the Boonville Glen Rose game, and the Boonville Bearcats do defeat the Glen Rose team and advance to the state 3A championship game. And Leland, Boonville, they got that rushing game with Dax Goff and Ryland Ray, and those guys certainly did their thing again on Friday night. They also threw some passes again.
Yeah, threw for 100 yards again. Dax Goff threw his second touchdown pass of the season. It was 13-13 at the half, and then Boonville scored 3 touchdowns, the first 3 touchdowns of the second half, and went up 34-13, and then hung on for the 34-25 win to advance to War Memorial Stadium for the second straight year. And you're right, the 1-2 punch, and I think that has been a big lift to the Bearcats the past few weeks, is having Ryland Ray back as another threat in the backfield to go along with Dax Goff, because either one of those guys can carry a team. And of course, Dax Goff, 159 yards or 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ryland Ray, 117 yards and a touchdown. So, the Bearcats are going back to War Memorial Stadium for the second year in a row.
So Boonville will play Prescott. Who, we got to hit on this a little bit. Our Mansfield Tigers, the magical Cinderella run ends at Prescott, but that game was close for a long time. And, really good job by Whit Overton and the Mansfield Tigers. I don't know if you've been able to follow up with them yet, Leland, about that, but, what a great run. I mean, they, we kind of, after they went through the gauntlet of Charleston, Boonville, Mansfield's kind of licking their wounds a little bit, but they picked everything back up and got back to work.
Every Friday night during the season, there's always some games that we have other, interest in, and we're always watching, scoreboards or Twitter to see updates and things. So the game I was most interested in was really the Mansfield Tigers, to see if they could, pull off a third straight stunner really on the road. I think they ended up now traveling almost 1,400 miles the last 3 weeks back and forth to play playoff games. And what a season it's been for the Mansfield Tigers. But they did lose 28-7. They were up. I guess it was 7-7 early in the second quarter. And then Prescott scored right before the half and went up 14-7, then scored 2 third quarter touchdowns, including one on a fumble return for a touchdown to win that game. And, Prescott's kind of been the team that has been at the top of Class 3A all season long. So it was a great run by Mansfield.
Well, and in the 4A title game, it's going to be Harding Academy versus Rivercrest. Is that right?
Yes.
So, couple of more eastern schools there. They're going to go at each other, and Rivercrest got a good football team too. And I just don't know that anybody's going to be able to slow down Harding Academy.
Well, you know what? I started my career over there for the Blytheville Courier, covering Gosnell Pirates and Rivercrest with head coach Danny Graham. They got a lot of tradition over there. I remember covering Richard Brothers, Cortez Kennedy. They got some athletes. I know Harding Academy is one of those private schools, and they can do a lot of great things. But I ain't going to put anything past the old Rivercrest Colts.
All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of tradition over there. I made my trip, my one trip maybe to Wilson, Arkansas in my lifetime to see Tyrone Henry.
Yes.
When they played Boonville in I think it was a semifinal game several years ago.
All right. Well, guys, we are not going to do a prep rally live this week. We've got the one game with our teams from Northwest Arkansas and River Valley. That's Booneville. So we're just going to pick it right here. Booneville versus Prescott. Leland, who you got?
I tell you, at this point, I can't go against Booneville, especially the return of Rylan Ray. I think that's just a huge difference. He also plays defense, and that allows Dax Goff to not have to carry the load. I think Booneville will win this game.
I'm with you on that one. I'm going Booneville as well, and man, I'm looking forward. I've not gotten to see Booneville play yet this year, so Leland and I are going down on Saturday morning, and we're gonna go watch the Bearcats bring this one home. So the moment you all been waiting for, Rick's pick.
Well, I got the cheat sheet because I got to see Prescott in the track tournament, 3A state track tournament, a couple years. I think 1 year they was the lead, and they got some runners, guys. They got some speed, and Booneville's gonna have to tackle at the line of scrimmage and keep a 4-yard run from going for 48-yard run. Prescott, I've heard about the Curly Wolves a lot of years, but you know what? Nobody tops football, small school football tradition more than Booneville, and I'm sticking with Booneville Bearcats.
All right. Well, Booneville Bearcats, we're behind you. Real quick on 4A, I'm going with Harding Academy. Leland?
Yeah, I don't see any reason to go against them. I don't see a Jalen Dupree and a Cedric Simmons like Malvern had last year, even though Rivercrest is very good. They run the ball. I just think Harding Academy is playing at a different level. And like Rick said, having a quarterback like Owen Miller and just how good that Coach Neil Evans has known he was going to be since he was a freshman, kind of pressed into the starting duty when their senior quarterback decided to concentrate on football a couple of years ago. Harding Academy.
I'm going with the Rivercrest Colts. It's probably from the heart because I know those are just good old country salt the earth people. I got $1.27 in my pocket, and I'm putting it all on the Rivercrest Colts.
All right. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll do our last top 5 of the football season.
If you're enjoying this podcast, consider a newspaper subscription to the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette or the River Valley Democrat-Gazette. We have a special offer for our podcast listeners, so visit nwaonline.com/podcast23 to get started. You can also click the subscribe button on our websites, nwaonline.com and rivervalleydemocratgazette.com, or call us at 479-684-5509 and be sure to say that you're a podcast listener. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Prep Rally Podcast, sponsored by West Termite Pest and Lawn, Graham Thomas, Rick Fires, Leland Barclay, and gentlemen. We've been doing top 5 football and other sports throughout the year, but we're gonna wrap up this podcast with another top 5, and I'll go ahead and start us off since I've got kind of the way this worked this year is that Rick has done the 7A. Leland's done the River Valley, and I've kind of filled in the gaps on what's left with the Northwest Arkansas teams class 6A and below. So to start us off with my top 5, I'm gonna lead off with the Elkins Elks finishing 13-1. All good things come to an end sometime, and for the Elkin Elks, it came to an end in the semifinals. What a great season. They're going to talk about this one for a long time over there. Had a chance, maybe if the weather's a little bit better, a few less drops on maybe they can pull that one out. Again, Shiloh Christian gets to another state championship game and loses to a really fine Little Rock Parkview team. I think we all kind of thought if anybody had a chance against Parkview, it would have been Shiloh. A lot of good football teams would have lost to Parkview the way they played that night. And another part, and this is number 3 for me about Shiloh Christian. The season Bo Williams had, some of the individual performances. I kind of go back to he nearly had 400 yards against Little Rock Christian on the ground. He had another big night in the quarterfinals against Pine Bluff at Pine Bluff. No, that was the semifinals. I'm sorry, at Pine Bluff.
At Pine Bluff.
What a great individual season he had, and he's going to make a really fine football player for somebody at the college level.
They need to get on him.
And they got eliminated early, but I'm gonna go back to the Farmington Cardinals winning that 5A West conference. So that
yes,
not enough credit goes to Coach J.R. Eldridge. They got off to a tough start, had some injuries and some adversity.
Yeah, their quarterback. Yeah,
and all they did was win the conference and beat Shiloh Christian along the way. And you can make the case, well, Shiloh's quarterback was hurt, or this, that, and the other. They won what I think may have been the toughest conference in our area. And my last one, guys, this has been the longest football season for me personally for high school in quite a while. And it's just been fun. Like I'm gonna go back and count up how many high school football games I've gotten to cover this year, but it's gonna be a lot more than in previous years, and it's been a blast. And so I'm sad to kind of see it come to an end this next week, and it's been a lot of fun. So Leland, I'll hand it over to you, and we'll let Rick wrap it up.
Well, number one, of course, I've got to start with the Greenwood Bulldogs. Won their 11th state title with an impressive 41-23 win over Little Rock Christian. 9 mercy rules out of their 13 wins this season, undefeated. Second state title for Chris Young, which now gives him one more than his dad, Joe Fred Young. And they only trailed twice this season in games at PA, which was very briefly early. And then to Little Rock Christian in that first meeting in the regular season, week 10. So another state title for Greenwood. And then number 2, the Southside Mavericks. I love the way they ran the ball this year. They were, very good team, won a playoff game, and just an outstanding season for Coach Kim Dameron and the Mavericks. And just more than anything, a really fun team to watch and a great team, great guys to go and talk to throughout the season. Number 3, of course, the Boonville Bearcats will play for a state championship on Saturday. The 1-2 punch of Dax Goff and Rylan Ray has been great. And the fact that they've thrown the ball some this year. Dax Goff, 2 touchdown passes. Jace Washburn has done a great job running the offense as a junior and also throwing the football. Dakota Matson, I think, caught 6 touchdown passes this season. And then, of course, the Mansfield Tigers. Whit Overton's a Mansfield guy, graduate, took over the program in July, and took them into December playing football. Those guys lived in the weight room. They lifted twice a week during the season, and that strength, I think, paid off in the playoffs for the Tigers. Won two road games in the playoffs, traveled almost 1,400 miles on 3 road trips. Great season for the Tigers. And then the Ozark Hillbillies had a great season as well, finished second in the 4A1. They may be changing conferences next year. Jeremy Burns won his 100th game as head coach of the Hillbillies before they had to take that long trip and lost a playoff game at Warren. But just outstanding jobs by all 5 of those teams, and just really also fun teams, not only to watch, but just to cover and talk to their players throughout the season.
Good stuff. All right, Ricky Fires.
Same way with Leland, man. This is the Fayetteville Bulldogs, your 2023 7A champion, 13-0 for the first time in school, 6 overall state championship. They were explosive on offense, and later on the defense came on, special team. They were just so solid in all 3 phases of the game. Here's a number I want to throw out there that I stole from Leland Barkley. 52, the number of touchdowns thrown this year by Drake Lindsay. which is the record for a player in Arkansas's largest classification. 52 touchdown passes. That's amazing. And I'm sorry, Arkansas fans, y'all got on him too late. He's going to go to Minnesota. He's reconfirmed that dozens of times, and he'll be signing here, a couple weeks from now. Here's another number. I thunk of this one by myself. The number 0. That's the number of 7A Central teams that were in the finals at War Memorial. And the reason I bring that out, because the 7A Central has been dominant for the last 7A years. They've had a couple occasions, they had 2 7A Central teams. So the 7A West ruled this year. And now I'm going to go, it's kind of a little commentary, but man, tremendous job by Casey Dick and his coaching staff, get these kids ready and looking forward to the next game. Hey, you win one, that's only one. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. And the defense, how they came on to favor. I didn't, a lot of credit, defensive coordinator Derek. I didn't know who he was till midway through the season. And then they started winning some games with the defense. I thought, man, I got to go talk to this guy, because they were really a factor for Fayetteville winning this state championship. And you know what? I got to go to Bentonville too, man. They just played. They're an outstanding program up here in Northwest Arkansas across the board. Jody Grant and that team, Carter and I, man, you and your other senior teammates, you guys just did a great job this year. That's a game that could have gone easily gone the other way. Just an outstanding job for Bentonville. They really represent the 7A West very well. And I guess, no, I won't be going to Little Rock to watch that last one. It's over for me, but man, football is my favorite sport. College football used to be, now it's more high school football. So I get a little bit depressed when high school football season over, but New Year's Eve, I have a toddy or two, and then I'll be ready for the next spring football all the way through the summer. Thank you guys for giving us a great team to cover a great year. Thank you.
Man, I'm about to get emotional over here.
I am. I need a toddy right now.
There must be some dust in here.
I'm not crying. You guys are. All right. Well, folks, we appreciate you guys tuning into Prep Rally all season long. This will probably be the last Prep Rally podcast for a few weeks as we kind of hit the reset button and get ready for several months of basketball. Thanks again to our sponsor, West Termite Pest and Lawn. We appreciate you guys. And reminder, we will not have a prep rally live later this week. So if you need to go back and hit the rewind button to see who we picked, and the finals, the standings going into the final picks, though, and I guess we're all going the same. Or no, Rick went with the Rivercrest Colts, but Rick is 32-13, and I'm 26-19, so he's well out in front. Six game lead. I can't catch him. So,
hell, I could have told you that at the start of the year.
Yeah, you probably could have. Thanks always to Leland Barclay for joining us every week in the River Valley, and thanks to Rick Fires. And we'll see you guys in a few weeks with our basketball shoes on. We love you.